All right, guys. So welcome back to another Q&A. As you can see, we're going to be doing a Q&A on one of my favorite movies, Jaws. Jaws was actually not going to be the Q&A I was going to do next. It was actually going to be something else, and I'll announce it in a second. But the reason why I chose is because it's the 50th. I remembered it was the 50th anniversary, and I was like, "Oh shit! I really want to do a Jaws Q&A because it's one of my favorite movies of all time." So I was like, "Yeah, I want to do a Jaws Q&A." And henceforth, here we are. Now, the next Q&A, if you want to be part of that, will be a Superman Q&A. So if you'd like to be part of that, just hit the link in the description box below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so, and be there when I announce the Superman Q&A. It's also where you can check out the polls that affect videos here on Patreon, as well as over there on YouTube. And it also, It also allows you to check out the movie reviews and TV episodes reviews. I'll be doing Ironheart reviews on there as well. But yeah, so here we go. Starting off with our first set of questions, they come from my good friend Mount Vernon Kid, who asks, being that this movie came out in the 1970s and that we still had knowledge of great white sharks, do you feel an understanding of great whites should be feared or less feared? Well, considering it's an apex predator with a bite force that can dent steel, I'd say be afraid of it, but also respect it. Great whites, we now understand, are solitary, and they're just animals. The problem is that, like most sharks, sharks do a test bite to see, are you food? Nom. Oh, you not food. Let me go. Let me let you go, and I'll be on my way. But the thing of it is that great whites have a massive mouth. Sorry for that pause there. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, they have a massive mouth with a lot of teeth, and they also have a strong bite force. So when they test bite you, you are going to bleed out. So, yeah, that doesn't mean you should be afraid of them. It just means you give them a lot of respect. Second question. When you first heard the real name of the shark, did you laugh? It is kind of funny. Now, for those who do know, and it's a common one, but if you don't, the shark in the movie's name is Bruce. But there's more to it. Bruce was named after Steven Spielberg's lawyer at the time, and Bruce, according to Spielberg, was a cunt. So, yeah, Bruce, he just named it Bruce because the shark never worked for him. It always worked against him, like his lawyer. So there you go. But I do find that part funny. Unfortunately, Chris, I can't answer your third question because this is a non-crossover Q&A. This is all solely about the movie, but with love and respect, thank you for those questions, bro. And moving on to our next set, Imaginate, whose first question is, what do you think of Ice Nine Kills' song Rocking the Boat? Rocking the Boat, I did a video on YouTube talking about my top 10 favorite Ice Nine Kills song, and Rocking the Boat is my favorite song for a multitude of reasons. I love the references to the movie. I love how they utilize the duh moment. And it's also a great love letter to the band's past. Silver Scream is where the band really broke out, but there were other people forget that there were other albums before Ice Nine Kills really broke out. And it also had a former member on the band from the band of that era coming back to play these songs. So it's like they reference Every Trick in the Book, which I think was their really big starting point. Safe is Just a Shadow, and Predator Becomes the Prey. It's a beautiful song. I love it, and it has so much tension in it, like the movie. I love it. I love it. And I also love the fact that they reference not only the movie, but the original Universal Studios ride, where the whole thing of Coast Guard, it's a great white, roger that, ETA 15 minutes. In 15 minutes will be shark bait. But in here, it's, in 15 minutes will be fucking shark bait! So, I like that. Anyway, thank you for that question. Second question. Would you place the theme from Jaws on a Mount Rushmore of iconic movie theme songs? Yeah. I mean, it would all just be John Williams songs. I mean, music, but yeah, it should be definitely on it should definitely be like the Mount Rushmore of John Williams movie themes. Yeah, but absolutely, yes. And your third question is, well, it's safe to say that Jaws is the definitive shark horror movie. Do you think Deep Blue Sea is a close second? Yeah. Deep Blue Sea is not a great movie. I love it, though. I love how dumb it is, and it's a great action movie. It's also very quotable. The shark CGI, not great, but I also appreciate the practical effects too. It's a solid movie and has one of the best, like, oh my, holy shit, that happened moments in horror movies. If you know the movie, you know what scene I'm talking about. But I would say, like, in the mountain of shark movies, Jaws is definitely the king, but the second place, like, it's the far winner. But if I was to say, like, second place, it is, without a doubt, Deep Blue Sea. Anyway, moving on now to, thank you for those questions, Imaginate. Moving on now to Alistair Bondman, who asks, would you classify Jaws the shark as a slasher villain? I wouldn't say slasher villain per se, but more like a monster. It is, like, Jaws at its whole is a monster movie. It's definitely a creature feature, because sharks don't operate like that. Sorry, I had to hydrate. Yeah, sharks do not operate like that at all. It is more about, it is, and also, like, just to clarify, of, like, there's a great, and I would suggest you all check it out, a comedian who's sadly no longer with us by the name of Richard Jenny did a stand-up bit about how awful Jaws the Revenge is, and just think of all that, and I'm going to apply it here, of, like, what kind of shark not only figures out that the Brody family is moving to the Bahamas, a place that's totally not shark-free, that's totally shark-free, sarcasm right there, but also beats a 747 jetliner to the Bahamas from New York. Yeah, it's a monster. It's a straight-up monster. Second question. There are many jokes about out-of-control shark Jaws sequels being made, especially like Back to the Future. What's your favorite fake Jaws sequel pitch? My pitch is about bigger Jaws, where the hunters have to hunt and team up with Jaws to fight a bigger shark. Yeah, it's a Family Guy pitch. I apply that rule to a lot of things. I really do apply that rule to a lot of, like, plots when it's like the two forces have to team up to fight something worse. Like, perfect example, when I did my review of Justice League versus Suicide Squad, I basically called when they revealed the quote unquote first Suicide Squad, I basically called it Bigger Suicide Squad. It was like, I'm gonna fight you, Justice League. We're the Suicide Squad, and we're gonna fight you too. Oh my gosh, what's that? Oh no, it's Bigger Suicide Squad. Oh no, we have a common enemy. We must work together. So, yeah, it's a family. For those wondering, Bigger Jaws is from Family Guy. I figured with the bad Peter Griffin accent, it'd be obvious, but I just want to be sure. So, there's your answer, Alistair. Third question. If Jaws is the best killer shark movie, if not the best killer animal movie of all time, what is the dumbest, excluding the Jaws sequels and Asylum films? Okay, excluding Jaws sequels and Asylum films, I would say the worst one. But here's the thing. There are some solid bangers in the 70s of animal attack movies that were inspired by Jaws. Yeah. So I would say the biggest, like, the worst ones, though, I would say Frogs. Frogs is boring, and Day of the Animals, even though it has Leslie Nielsen being a weirdo and taking off his shirt and trying to fight a bear in the rain. Those two come to mind as the worst. But there were, like, for the most part... Oh, and Barracuda sucks, too. Barracuda, that's another one I would say sucks. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to Hunter Johnson, who asks, what would happen if we got a Jaws game similar to the Dark Pictures anthology Quarry and Until Dawn? You know, I kind of actually like this idea. I really do think this is a solid idea for a pitch of a game, because, like, you could do, like, don't move your control, and you're in the water, like, just floating. Don't move the controller. Like, don't make any movement and just be still, or do, like, a quick time event to avoid the shark coming at you. You could also do, like, a choice of, like, you have a group of fishermen or friends or whatever, and your choice is, like, either keep them alive or get eaten by the shark. Yeah, Jaws really does, like, I think a new Jaws game would actually, the more I think about it, because I'm like, at first I was like, I don't know if this would work, but the more I think about it now, it's like, yeah, the more I think about it now, the more I'm like, holy shit, this actually could work. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, second question. You have talked about a Jaws requel, but I think we should get a movie about Quint's time in the Navy and the sinking of the Indianapolis and fighting off the horde of sharks. Yeah, for those who don't know, shortly after Jaws, Spielberg pitched to Universal a prequel idea involving Quint on the USS Indianapolis and its sinking. So it was arguably one of the best moments in the movie, and rather than try to ride a high with Spielberg again trying to making another Jaws movie, Universal went, nah, but a sequel, though, without Spielberg. Yeah, I think, honestly, you could still do this movie to this day. Would it be good? I don't know. That's kind of like a big what-if question, but I really do think if you want to do another Jaws movie, that's the best way to go, and no one will be mad. It doesn't really damage anything. It doesn't really, like, harm the sequel. It really depends on who you get. And again, like, you can get a younger actor to play Quint because it was 1945. It's a good 20-year gap in between. It's a 20, 30-year gap between 1945 and 1975. So you could do that. Like, I think you get the right actor for it. I think you can work. So yeah. And your final question is, since you live in Florida, have you been to Navarre Beach, which is the beach they used to shoot Jaws 2 on? Yeah, totally. I've been to the beach. You can tell by my very pale complexion. No, I have been to the beach, obviously, in Florida. You know, going to the beach is like a rite, honestly. But I think I have. I'm not 100% sure. I've been to a lot of beaches, but I do think I have been to Navarre Beach. Yeah, I think I've been there. Can't say for certain. I think I did when I was a kid, though. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Hunter. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, have you ever played Jaws Unleashed? I played it once. My cousin had it, and I was over at his house for a birthday party, and I played it for all of 2 levels and hated it. That game was so fucking janky. It was gory, and like, the gore was awesome. That game is the graphics are awful. It was janky and impossible to get the camera going. Yeah, it was just difficult as shit to work with. Thank God for Maneater, which took all the ideas and cool aspects of Jaws Unleashed and put it into that game. So I do deeply appreciate that. Second question. If Jaws could be brought back at a new attraction at Universal Parks, how would you go about it, and which park would you go to? I would say, now we do know, the rumor is that there's going to be a Jaws-themed ride at Universal Studios, Britain. UK is apparently going to have an Amity Island section. Now, whether or not it has the Jaws movie, that's that's a different story altogether. But I do think that would be a cool idea to have a Jaws ride there. Now, if I was to have a whole new Jaws ride, you could thank my girlfriend for this idea right here. She's the one who came up with this new idea. Now, where I would first off, let's actually talk about what I would do. I think Jaws, you could build a new Amity Island in Epic Universe, or maybe in the new Texas area, because apparently the Texas Universal Studios is going to expand from the Kid Zone. So maybe you could put one there. But but this idea for a ride came from my girlfriend Julie. She basically said, make it a dark ride. Like, make it a straight up dark ride, where you are in a sub instead of a boat this time. You are now in a submarine, and it's and you're like taking a tour underwater at Amity and like visiting all the like locations. It's like the original premise of the Jaws ride, but it's underwater. But here's the catch: is that you're looking at like the wreckage of like the Orca, you're looking at the wreckage of like several sites where the shark had attacked, and then you get attacked by a shark during the ride, like in the sub. Like you would have a scene where the shark bangs into the sub. You would see like images of the shark swim by. Even have a diver like try to repair the sub. He gets eaten. Even have a scene where the shark like bites into the sub, and you see the teeth come through the through the metal, and then it has to pull back, and water starts spraying at you. So yeah, that was all her idea, and I absolutely loved it. So that would be a cool update to the Jaws ride. Make it like a dark ride underwater, like kind of like the Finding Nemo ride, but less suck and the intensity of the original ride. So there you go. Third question: thoughts on Jaws 2? You know, of the Jaws sequels, Jaws 2 is the least sucky one. It does have its bad moments, and it's very clear Roy Schneider does not want to be there, but goddamn does he still give his all. I would definitely say I would definitely say it's the best. There are some things I like about it. The first half is just boring. When we get to that second half, though, with all the kids on the boats, it's actually kind of awesome. Like, one of my favorite moments from Jaws comes from Jaws Anywhere, comes from Jaws 2, where that kid Eddie gets knocked off the boat and he's trying to swim desperately back, and the music is playing and the shark's chasing after him. It's a great scene. Like, it's a pretty intense moment. Yeah. Jaws 2, like, it's the most tolerable of the Jaws sequels. Like, it does have its moments here and there. So that's my thoughts. Thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to Bill McLaughlin, who asks, do you ever think we'll get a Jaws requel? Maybe. Like, who knows if Universal gets desperate enough for money. But I will say, the only way you get a Jaws requel and make everyone universally like, okay, we'll see how it goes, is if you get Mike Flanagan to direct it. That is the only... Like, I've said time and time again, Mike Flanagan is the only guy I would trust with a Jaws movie, with a Jaws requel. Yeah. It's the only guy I would ever trust with that. Bottom line, there you go. Second question: what's your favorite quote? You go in the water, cage in the water, shark in the water. Shark. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain, where we've received orders. There you go. Yeah. I know everyone's going to say, you're going to need a bigger boat. Nope. Too easy. Third question. Do you ever think Jaws would have been as big now had the mechanical shark not have issues? That's always kind of been the big question, hasn't it? That's always been the big question. Like, had the shark... Because that's the thing. Spielberg really wanted the shark in more scenes, right? Like, he always wanted more scenes of the shark in these movies, right? So, my thing is... Would it have still had that effect? You know, would it have been a greatest movie? I think it would have been a good movie, but I don't think we wouldn't have that same kind of innovation and tension that this cut we have would. I don't think it would have had the same effect. I don't think it would have had the same kind of horror effect and effect it would have had on audiences if you kept seeing the shark. The big thing of like the shark not working was a bitch and a half to be on set for, but watching the movie, you see like this level of like tension and horror done for the film. So yeah, I think it would have been good. I think it would have been good, but blockbuster and cinema magic, and maybe even put Spielberg on the map, that's another thing entirely. But thank you for those questions, Bill. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, Would you say Jaws was a sort of blueprint for Spielberg's later Jurassic Park? Yeah, kinda. I would say that Spielberg definitely took a lot of the inspiration and tension he had with Jaws and applied it here. But you can clearly see that he, like the director of then and now, or it was working on two different vibes. But I do agree that it's a kind of a blueprint to that wonder mixed with horror that Spielberg is really good. I wish he does more of that in the future, honestly. Second question: do you think Jaws works best as a standalone movie when compared to later sequels? Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, the prequel makes sense. Like, we should have gotten a prequel, not 3 movies with deteriorating results. Yeah, it should have just been a standalone movie with maybe a prequel. Maybe. Third question. What was it like writing Jaws the Ride at Universal Studios? I couldn't tell you. I never wrote it. Yeah, I never got to write it. My family was pretty poor, so we only went to Universal Studios at the start before, we got more money in the later years, but by then it was already gone. So I never got to write it. My girl has. She's written the original and the Japanese version. So I wish I could write it, but maybe if I ever go to Japan, I'll go to Universal Studios Japan and see that version. But yeah, I sadly never got to write it. It's one of my big regrets. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Tom. Moving on now to Mitchell Ulrich, who asks, well, no doubt Jaws is considered the #1 best shark movie. What would you consider number 2? Now, this one I've kind of answered already, but he didn't know that the other person was going to say Deep Blue Sea regardless. And Deep Blue Sea is the close second for me. It is the number 2. I'll tell you, I will say this. My number 3 is, I think the number 3 shark movie so far is Bait. If you don't know what the movie Bait is an Australian movie that is set during a tsunami that comes in an Australian grocery store and floods it, and 2 great whites are in the grocery store. It's actually pretty solid. There's some great gore in it and some solid tension throughout the movie. It's also got one guy who's really overacting. You'll know him when you see him. But I also think that this movie isn't trying to win an Oscar. But I think of the mountains of shark movies, Bait comes in for at least me at number 3. I think I just rhymed there. Second question. Following the success of Jaws, were many ripoffs with predators. Piranha, orca, grizzly, barracuda, etc. Which one of these ripoffs would you say is the best? Piranha, because that was a great movie and also launched Joe Dante. Grizzly, I think Grizzly doesn't get talked about enough as a great animal attack movie of the Jaws ripoffs. Yeah, I don't think that gets enough love in terms of the Jaws movies. Orca is actually really solid. Another one of the goats of the animal attack movies. I would even say Slugs. Slugs is a good one. Squirm. Yeah. Those are the ones that come to mind. I've never watched Tentacles, but I've heard Tentacles is really bad. But as it stands, in terms of animal attack movies, Grizzly and I would say the 3 best are Piranha, Orca, and Grizzly. Those are arguably the 3 best of those animal Jaws ripoff movies. Third question: have you read the original Jaws novel by Peter Benchley? I have. I like it. I will say that I think if Spielberg went with the original Benchley novel, I feel like we wouldn't like this movie as much because, Hooper and Brody's wife have an affair, and it's way darker and way more mean-spirited. And even Benchley said, the movie's actually better than the book, so... I have read it. I think it's great, but I think it's one of those times where I prefer the movie over the book. Anyway. All right. Thank you for those questions, Mitchell. Moving on now to David Deister, who asks, would you be okay if Jaws was remade? Absolutely fucking not. That is a movie that should never be touched. Absolutely not. That is, yeah. No, sir. Never. I don't care who if they had to, They needed to get like like an A-list director, not Joe Schmo working on some horror movie, or Spielberg himself coming back to direct it. Anyway, you know. Second question: how would you reboot Jaws? Nah, requel. Like, I would be fine with a requel, but only if Flanagan was directing. So I have no idea for that. Third question: what ranking do you give each Jaws movie? From best to worst? All right, let's go. Best, Jaws, then Jaws 2, Jaws 3, Jaws the Revenge. Literally how the sequels play out. That is how the list of the Jaws movies, best to worst. Because it literally keeps deteriorating again and again and again. Also, you sent me a question beforehand, David, asking me how old I was when Jaws came out. How old do you think I am? Like, and like you suggested, 40. If I was 40, I'm not. If I was 40, I still wouldn't have been able to see Jaws in theaters when it came out in 1975. I'd have been still 10 years too late. I'm not that. I ain't that old. I'm old, but I ain't that old. Anyway, so I just. Anyway, but regardless, thank you for those questions, David, and thank you all for sending me these questions. Like I said, if you'd like to be part of the next Q&A, which I said is a Superman Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon. Hit the first tier. That'll allow you Superman Q&A. My head's all over the place. If you want to be part of that next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon. Hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so. But other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, Multiverse.